It's just Jersey, man. We're a different breed. Place. Who doesn't want to win in Jersey?
What's up, everybody? John Forster here, Breakdown from the Barn, episode 38. With me, as always, the greatest mind in wrestling, Eric Wanagiel, and we got CJ Brucky coming in today. You're telling some wrestling knowledge, and also we got Dylan Wanagiel, VP of events at the Pru Center. Going to talk Final X. We're all pumped about it. We're ready to go. How's everyone doing today?
Let's go. Come on.
Yeah. Doing great, John.
Excellent. So Dylan, we love going to the Pru Center for these wrestling events. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we got in store for June 10th?
Yeah, we're so excited. And first, thank you, John, for having me back on. I really enjoyed being on back in November when we were talking about Garden State Grapple and bringing some high-level D1 wrestling to Prudential Center in Newark. And now we're back with really, as good as you can get as far as U.S. Wrestlers go. Final X, Saturday, June 10th at Prudential Center in Newark. Really exciting day. It's going to be a long day. We'll get into the schedule, but doors open at noon, and we'll probably have some wrestling going as late as 8:30 at night. So it's a long day. Buckle up for some awesome wrestling.
That's nice. So Dylan, thanks again for joining the show. And I know John and I were at the Pru event early last year. It was a great event. It was run well, some great wrestling. We obviously had some fond memories of Rutgers UPenn, but why don't we jump right into the format for Final X? Because obviously, like you said, it's the matches can go. Some of these matches, I'm looking at some of them might go 3, but I don't want to steal your thunder. So why don't you just walk us through the format of Final X and how it's going to be run this year?
That sounds good, Eric. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the kind words about Garden State Grapple. That was a real labor of love for all of us, and it really turned out really awesome this year, better than anything we could have hoped for. So for Final X, this is really a partnership between Beat the Streets and USA Wrestling. So really it's them putting together the schedule, but what they've come up with. And for those who might not have seen it, originally we were looking at 2 p.m. start of wrestling, but now USA Wrestling and Beat the Streets have decided to add the national team true third place matches. So that'll be starting at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, June 10th. So doors at noon. 30 minutes later, boom, there's some of the best wrestlers you'll ever see competing for the true third place for the USA national team. So that's 12:30 till about 2 o'clock. Then 2 o'clock, we'll start the actual Final X matches. As you guys know, 10 men's freestyle, 10 women's freestyle, 10 Greco-Roman. So that's 3 separate mats, all running concurrent. A lot of action going on simultaneously. USA Wrestling and Beat the Streets bringing in Jason Bryant and Brian Hazard to really keep everyone in the crowd informed and up to date on who's wrestling who on which mat. That goes till about 4 p.m. Then Beat the Streets, as they always do, really bring in some exciting, compelling youth matches from a wide range of ages, and also New Jersey wrestlers, Pennsylvania wrestlers, New York wrestlers. They always have a nice mix there. Then 6 o'clock, we'll bring in round 2. So as you mentioned, these are best out of 3 matches. So from 6 p.m. till 8:30, maybe even 9 o'clock, will be all those round 2 and possibly round 3 Final X matches to determine who makes Team USA for the world team.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited about that. We got, right away, we got 2 suites filled up, and we're working on the third. We might have a third one coming. So anyone out there that wants, we got a waiting list to try to get this third suite. I think we need 3 more people. So anyone that wants to come in on that, send me a message, and we'll get hopefully we can book that third suite. So listen, I got CJ and Eric here. What matches have you intrigued? I mean, it's a great card top to bottom here.
Yeah, John, I guess I'll kick it off because on our last show, I kind of previewed already, I think CJ would agree, 97 kilograms with Snyder, Jaden Cox. I don't think you can find. And there's a lot of darn good matchups in this one, but you're talking about 2 hammers that are probably 2 of the best in the world. And we know, CJ, your man Nate's up there too. So he's got good experience, especially working with wrestling Jaden Cox. But these guys, for the average wrestler who doesn't know, but I think people who are connected to the sport know these 2 go back. I'm talking back to Fargo, where they split matches back in high school. I think they split a couple of folk style matches. And then obviously coming through the last couple of years, they had some tight matchups. Snyder, I think, took them at that Flow event. but both these guys are top in the world. Unfortunately, only one of these guys are going to make the world team. I give Jaden a lot of credit for going up and bumping to 97 because he's going after Olympic weight. He could have very easily walked in at 92, in my opinion. So I think I'll start with that one, and I don't want to steal them all. I got a couple more, but what are your thoughts, CJ?
No, 100%. I have to agree with you there. I think we've all been waiting a long time for this one. After the last chance they had to face off, you're just looking at power technique versus just straight freak athleticism here, and it's kind of a matchup that we've known is gonna lead to fireworks for a very long time, and they both know what they're going after. That's why I wasn't surprised by the move up for Jaden. They're both going after the best, and they've wrestled at the highest caliber of wrestling for the longest time. So, I mean, bar none, I think that's the one that everybody's looking forward to the most. But I limited myself to 4 stars on this lineup, and it's impossible to really kind of narrow it down that much. But you have Dake and Nolf is something that I know everybody's kind of looking at as well. These are 2 guys that aren't uncomfortable in any position of wrestling. They both they've played in every position of wrestling. They've both sent it in every position of wrestling. And, based off of what happened last time, I know Nolf is going to be coming with a little bit more vigor. And I think that Dake is looking to respond to that. I think that you can't really get either one of these out of composure. And, but nonetheless, I really hope to see a lot of fireworks in that matchup as well. My personal, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this one, just the Cornell National Championship face-off between Vito and Nashawn. And he's gone ahead and said he's talked his talk, man. He said Vito has not seen me at my best, and boy, I believe him. I mean, the way he's run through everybody and kind of silenced the doubters, and he's built himself a little bit of momentum going into this event. I really do believe that Nashawn he's brought out a new vision of himself, and he's ready to just display that to the world. I think that he's ready to put on a show, and I'm Vito's biggest fan too. After what he was able to accomplish at the national tournament, making a statement over wins over Dayton Fix and RBY all the way across the board, how he's been able to dominate on the mat. I really don't know what to expect, but I do know that it's going to be a hell of a matchup. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah, and I'm going to pony off that real quick, John, because this matchup, when I said earlier, the hottest wrestler kind of in the world right now is Vito, just the way he was coming in. Slight exaggeration, but the way he just went through that national tournament and just his speed. You talk about athleticism, you're not going to find a better athlete on the mat than Vito. He's sneaky fast. But the way Nashawn Garrett wrestled a couple weeks ago, I mean, he just tore through the World Team Trials. And I was shocked how he just took it to Dayton Fix right off the bat. I think he built up like a 6-7-0 lead. He was very close to almost getting the 10-0 in the first period. Dayton is credit. He's a world-class athlete. He held him off, had a late spur. But these are 2 of the hottest wrestlers right now. So this was a matchup initially I thought was going to be Vito's coronation. But you're right. Nashawn right now, he's coming for keeps, man. So yeah, that's one that's really, really solid. And I think there's one more that obviously we can get into Jordan Burroughs, but David Taylor, Aaron Brooks, I think that's another one simply because you've got, the Penn State hammers going each other. You got the youth versus kind of the grizzled World Olympic champion veteran going at it. So I don't know, CJ, talk about that one, because that's another one I'm really pumped to see.
Yeah. I mean, you have a clash of a couple of styles there. I mean, DT, it's Magic Man, he can pull things out. But Brooks is the same, the way that he's pulled out cradles, the way that, he's kind of built into his own body. Like he's an up and coming athlete that, once again, like any Penn State wrestler, is trying to put on a show and is having fun out there. So I'm excited to see how, this matchup, when the whistle blows and the feet are on the line, like, it's different than what they might have wrestled in the room. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've been practice partners for some time. But you saw that a little bit with Bartlett versus Nick Lee in the semis at the U.S. Open, how, practice partners, they can go back and forth, but you kind of really do see, who might be either dominating in the room or maybe it's just their day. You never know. And I think that the way that these two wrestle, and I think the way that Penn State instills in their guys, it's almost like the better man wins that day. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch those two go head to head. I mean, David Taylor is a poised, he's an experienced wrestler, but Aaron Brooks is in his own right coming out of his own woodwork here.
Yeah, it's not the first time David's been in this situation. Obviously, he wrestled Bo Nickel several years ago. I think it was at the Rutgers Final X, and kind of Bo went into UFC after that. So he's got, he's felt a lot of these guys, but I think David Taylor is just a consummate professional. He's full of confidence. He's wrestled the best in the world right now. I think Brooks is going to be one of those future stars, but who Dave's been wrestling, I think that gives him the slight advantage. But you're right, these guys bang heads. It doesn't mean anything if you know the guy in the room. I mean, I've heard stories. That's why coaches don't do wrestle offs sometimes, because
Right.
you get to feel somebody in the room, and you might not be the better wrestler. You might not be the better guy in the lineup. I know Scott Goodell talks about this all the time, but because you figure somebody out in that room, and there's something about them that you, after years of working with them or months of working at them, you never know what can happen. So I agree, it's gonna be fun to see.
Yeah, I gotta kind of segue off of that with JB and how poised and experienced he is. I gotta shout out my guy Chance Marceller working in the room with Nate Jackson at the NYC RTC and NJRTC have been very close. I gotta say I'm the biggest JB fan in the world, but Chance is coming. He's put in his own work and he's ready in his own right. So they went 2 out of 3 last year, and I think that it's exciting. I'm excited to see how JB responds. I'm excited to see what kind of work that Chance is able to put out there after a year more working. And that JB's been on his mind the entire year. I think that you got to run through the mill on everybody through the US Open, but he's had one guy in his mind. So I'm excited to see what kind of performance is put out there.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, when you talk about Chance, because that's one we talked about before as well. He's a guy that some people who aren't necessarily as connected to the sport don't realize what a recruit he was. I mean, he was as blue chip as you can get, ran into some problems. We don't have to get into that. So I think we're finally starting to see what he had kind of in the tank coming out of high school. This is a guy who theoretically could have been a 4-time national champion. He had that level of talent. So I think JB knows what he's got under, coming after him. But I think JB's got a couple more runs left in him. So yeah, just Chance, he's as good as anybody in this lineup on this card. And I think we're just starting to see what he's got.
Once again, a nod to Chance, because I think that he would like to bring light to the path that he's been through. It's a testament to what the effort he's put into being clean, being healthy, being driven, being focused. That's put out the best result and the best product over the years. He's always known how to wrestle, but right now he's hitting on all cylinders. And I think that he's very proud of that. I'm very proud of that, to see that happen.
Yep.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, good stuff, man. I'm excited for this lineup. All right, CJ, why don't you ask about the next question about the Pru Center?
Yeah, so Dylan, I mean, I'm curious to know how the partnership with Beat the Streets, how the event kind of came to fruition here. I know that we had some success bringing some high level wrestling to Jersey. These people are wrestling fanatics. I've said it since I stepped foot in this state, man. They love their wrestling in Jersey, and I'm really, really happy to see the effort to bring a little bit more of a showcase to the state, and put the sport within a basically a stage that's going to give it the respect. I'm really curious to see how this kind of folded out.
Thanks, CJ. Yeah, this is a long story, which I'll try and make short. Look, the reality is this is an unbelievable event. I remember the first year of Beat the Streets on the Intrepid in New York City and being like, wow, what is that? I work in the live events business, and when you hear about something unique like that, you really start paying attention. That was around the time I just started paying attention to wrestling as a business, as a culture, as someone who didn't grow up wrestling. So I've been to virtually every Beat the Streets event has happened. Many years it was in Times Square, one year was in Grand Central Station. So for years I was tugging at them to say, hey, could you should try the theater at the Garden, when I was working at MSG for 25 years. And eventually they did. And there was that cool event with Jordan Burroughs and Ben Askren. And that was a really wild night. And then, then pandemic hit. I personally had a little change, and I'm playing a home game now, working in New Jersey for the first time. I'm at Prudential Center 2 years now, and naturally just kept planting the seeds with Beat the Streets. And also I've known all the USA Wrestling folks for a long time, just saying, hey, like, we're doing some really cool stuff here in New Jersey. And you guys mentioned Scott Goodale earlier. He always talks about giving his wrestlers that professional arena experience, and how much he likes doing stuff like we've done the past 2 years with the Garden State Grapple. Prudential Center is a world-class arena. Polestar ranked us 5th in the whole world last year in terms of tickets sold and box office revenue, the entire world. So we're very proud of that. We have the world's largest in-arena video board, high-definition video board. It's almost breathtaking in a way that you might say the Dallas Cowboys one, Jerry World one is for football stadiums. Well, for arenas, we have that, and that's something that adds a lot to the in-venue experience. That yes, wrestling, New Jersey is a hotbed for wrestling. On the high school level, state tournament down in Atlantic City is just insane. But really, you see youth tournaments in New Jersey, which are really packed. So everyone here is very prideful of how wrestling is perceived in New Jersey. And that's really what helped me sell Beat the Streets on, hey, come across the river. Don't worry. New Jersey will support your event. And we will have that. We will have a packed lower bowl. We will have tons of energy. We will have the live event experience. Our Rock Vision team, Joe, Alex, Katie, these are like some of the best people in the world that taking an event and really kind of helping raise the bar and bring the special effects to it. And Beat the Streets hires a guy, Damian Santucci, who I've known for many years, who really specializes in that, like making, the wrestlers will do their thing and there'll be some awesome matches, but really the non-wrestlers have to do our thing and really make it a special event.
I want to kind of follow up on what you're talking about, the youth wrestling, because I know CJ and I were talking about this offline. We met up at one of the state qualifiers and how big youth wrestling is, but Beat the Streets in general, the great work that they do with youth, not only in the New York Beat the Streets, but if you go down to Philadelphia, I think it's such a great partnership with you two guys, because and I know they're going to bring in some of the youth matches, as you mentioned, around noon. And I just think it's great to open the venue up to kind of the younger guys, because that's what they do. What Beat the Streets does, and it's in line with what USA Wrestling is all about. So I think the partnership is you can't find a better partnership than those two.
Well, thanks, Eric. Yeah, and just to clarify, doors to the event open at noon. Those youth matches should be around 4 o'clock.
Yep.
And I mean, when you think about Beat the Streets and their mission, like what a just great idea in the first place. Hey, you do have so many very successful people in business who credit all of their success in business to their time spent in wrestling. The classic Dan Gable quote, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. And for some people, that means all the way to CEO of big Fortune 500 companies and things like that. And what do they all want to do? And they all have the same common mission of they really want to give back to the sport. So here's Beat the Streets, putting wrestling mats in middle schools, high schools that have never had wrestling before. And now there's many success stories of kids who've come through that program. So this event gives you really the best of both worlds. You have the most elite of the elite of on the mat wrestling, but all benefiting, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12-year-old kids who maybe are a little bit lost in life. And if they find their way to a wrestling mat with the right coach and someone who cares about them and shows them, hey, like this is another path for you, and this will teach you discipline and hard work and commitment, like awesome. What a tremendous mission. So to combine these two worlds into one great event, like can't get any better than that.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty unbelievable, the stuff they're doing there. So Dylan, what else do you have on the horizon? I mean, you're getting, you're building on the Garden State Grapple. Now you got Final X. Anything else that we could be looking forward to at the Pru Center?
Well, I think first we'll just press rewind. We're so excited. We just had UFC 288 May 6th, our first UFC pay-per-view in a little over 9 years, which was a tremendous success. Highest grossing event in the building's history as far as sporting events go, over $5 million in ticket sales. So that was a huge win for us. We're doing great stuff in the boxing world. Hey, look, long term, as you know, always talking to the D1 college coaches, trying to figure out something cool that we can do. And we have some irons in the fire for this coming season. We'll see what we're able to pull together. Certainly always have our eye on D1 Nationals. I was part of a team that brought that event to the MSG back in 2016, an event that a lot of people really still call that one of the best nationals ever. And hopefully one day we'll get a chance to do that in Jersey. So we'll certainly put our hat in the ring for that event. during the
You know,
next
it's funny.
cycle.
Yeah, I think about MSG and just in Japan, like the memories jogging. I remember being out in the streets to that Thursday night, and it was the same weekend, I think St. Patty's Day, and you had all these St. Patty's Day party crowd, and you had all these wrestlers and these guys from the West just looking at each other. I'm like, this ain't gonna end well. But it ended up being such a great time. Everyone got along, and I just think it was such a great environment in MSG. So, talking about bells and whistles, anything else, Dylan, that you can talk about? You know, any other little surprises coming up for this event?
Well, I touched on a little bit earlier with our event presentation team. These are folks that they do all the event presentation for the New Jersey Devils games, which if you go to a hockey game, very exciting, but there are plenty of stoppages in play where you really have to fill in all that time with exciting stuff. So they're collaborating with Beat the Streets and USA Wrestling to bring out the bells and whistles and fill in the downtime. Although, given how many matches there are to pull off, not going to be a whole lot of downtime, but you will see, the smoke machines and really cool lighting, and we have a brand new sound system, and you'll have that big event feel from the moment you walk into the venue. So I think you will see that. That's what a world-class arena like Prudential Center brings to any event, but specifically sporting events. I really do feel like that's where we shine as events.
Yeah, Dylan, I was gonna say, I mean, I think the show that was put on with UFC, I know you guys were breaking records, hosting sporting events, like you say. I think that's the future for what you see in Jersey, bringing it to the Pru Center. How have the wrestling events or combat events compared to other events that you've brought in? Are you seeing those being the higher revenue, or comparing to some of the higher revenue sporting events that you guys have held up to this point?
Well, certainly UFC was. I mean, that event grossed over $5 million and is the highest grossing event from a ticket sales perspective in arena history for a sporting event. And it's third all time. There were some Rolling Stone shows back in 2012, which did over $7 million at the box office. But, that just speaks to, MMA in general. But really, when you look at MMA, what do you see? 60% of the roster is former wrestlers, if not more. So, it is nice that some wrestlers make that transition and have that path to a career. Sporting events in general, we're doing great on the concert business. We're absolutely killing it and doing more shows than ever before on the concert side. But for me personally, my focus is on the sporting side and special event side, and we are seeing quite a bit of success. Our last two pro boxing events have set box office records for boxing in our venue. Wrestling, I think we've had two really nice Division I wrestling events the past 2 seasons, but that natural progression is boom. Here we are 8 months after doing D1 wrestling. Now we have Final X, which is really the height of American wrestling as far as making that national team. And hopefully this becomes an annual event, and with the right support from New Jersey wrestling fans, I think Beat the Streets and USA Wrestling will see we have a home in Newark, New Jersey.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're going to get the support because when you think in terms of, you mentioned the Hulu Center, I mentioned before, we're there, it was at Rutgers, and every single time we've hosted in this area, just fans come out. And I think the world is starting, and USA Wrestling is starting to realize how passionate New Jersey is, with the tri-state area, but especially North Jersey, Central Jersey, how passionate we are about wrestling. So I think that would be a great thing, Dylan, to keep this thing home and make this a first annual, so to speak. Obviously not the first annual for Final X, but being at the Pru Center, I think that'd be tremendous.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. I think what people need to realize is, yes, like Newark is not Midtown Manhattan, but we're 8 miles from Midtown Manhattan. There are New Jersey Transit trains, PATH trains, which will take you 2 blocks from the arena. Mm-hmm. And the arena now has this gorgeous park called Mulberry Common. The VMAs, when they were with us last August, used it as their red carpet arrival area for the Taylor Swifts of the world to come into the building. Like, it's a really beautiful walk from the train station to Prudential Center. Obviously, pretty easy drive for people who are accustomed to going to Jersey Mike's Arena. Like, we're 30-minute drive north of there. So it's really actually very easy to get to. Ticket sales are going great, but for anyone who's on the fence, like, trust me, you're going to have a great time. This is awesome wrestling. It's an awesome event to experience the culture of wrestling and the craziness of the wrestling fans who all have their favorites that they're pulling for. And there's always one or two controversial calls, and it's just a very exciting atmosphere.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, so let's talk about the wrestling a little more. We talked about the men's matches, but these women are coming, man. They are USA women's wrestling is just, turning a corner, and they've just been dominating. So why don't Eric, CJ, tell us a little bit about the women's matches that you got your eye on?
Yeah, I think I'll jump right in with, to me, one of the biggest rising stars, not just in women's wrestling, but of all wrestling, and that's Blades, Kennedy Blades. And that matchup is going to be a rematch because for those who don't know what Adeline Gray has done to get back to the Final X, I mean, this was a woman. When we talk about our war injuries, we all wrestle. I mean, CJ, you obviously wrestle at the highest level. John was a collegiate wrestler. I spent some time out there. We all got our bumps or bruises, our shoulders, our knees, or what have you. This is a woman who gave birth to two lovely children not too long ago. And she took a tough loss to Blades, and she came all the way back, had a wonderful run at the U.S. World Team Trials. She's obviously a 7 or 8 time, world medalist, gold medalist. So I'm really pumped to see what we're going to see is probably one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time for the U.S. team. And to me, the up and coming star, which is Kennedy Blades, I think that's got firepower written all over it. And obviously, I always love watching Sarah Hildebrand wrestle. You talk about one of the best leg laces. Again, not just in women's wrestling, but in all of wrestling. You let this woman get into your legs and get you and spin you around, you're done. It's going to be 10-0 in 30 seconds. So Jimenez has her hands full with Sarah, but I don't want to take all the glory. So CJ, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, just piggybacking up what you said there, Adeline, I mean, a couple people might have maybe written her off after the last couple of performances that you might have seen against Diamond, and then how Kennedy had handled her in the finals, but you'd be damned to write her off. I mean, she's one of the greatest American wrestlers of all time. You did mention, she's given birth recently. She's coming back. She looked fantastic at World Team Trials coming back against Diamond. So listen, you can't ever count her out. She's one of the best to ever have done it. Kennedy, I am utmost behind the hype train. I'm telling you, from the start, working with her, seeing her grow up and wrestle for Izzy Style in Illinois, she's been on the radar for me for a very long time. And to see her, a lot of that hard work coming to fruition for me is a very exciting thing. So, I've got a whole lot of respect for Adeline, but I'm behind Kennedy on this little train that she's riding. She's put in the work and she's ready. She's dangerous. I'm telling you, on the world level immediately. She's that high level. And then for me, I always love watching Forrest Molinari wrestler. I mean, it's different to see the type of aggression that she's bringing from the women's side. She wants to go out there and kill somebody. I mean, you just can't deny it. You see it on her face. You see it in her mannerisms. She's on another level when it comes to intensity. And I always respect that as a competitor, being in the arena myself and seeing the type of respect she brings to the sport and the toughness she brings to the sport. I'm a big fan of that. So, I'm excited to see Forrest compete. I'm excited to see Jakara compete always. World champ right there. We've got the highest level of wrestling, not only on the men's side, but the women's side. It's a great time to be a USA Wrestling fan. So a whole lot of great wrestling coming at you on both ends.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jakara. So John, real quick, she's another one that, probably took a loss and had to fight back to get Final X. And these grizzled veterans, it's a lot to say, oh my God, I got to go back to World Team Trials and go on another run in Winchester. She looked phenomenal last week.
Unreal.
So just looked phenomenal. And you look up and down the lineup, John. I mean, other than Japan, I can't think of a better lineup in the world right now in terms of women's wrestling. I think we got 5 or 6 returning world medalists, maybe 5. They're going to be in this Final X event. So, and obviously we didn't even talk about Helen Marolis and all the other stars up and down the lineup. So yeah, just a packed lineup.
Yeah, going to be unbelievable. That's going to be a great lineup. One thing before we close out, Brocky, why don't we tell us about, we got our breakdown from the barn shirts. Tell us about your shirt. You got a pretty good one.
You got the OGWC coming at you. Wrestling is a hobby.
Club.
Old guy wrestling club, old guy, old gal.
And good slogan on the back, though. What's it say on the back?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what it is.
We can't.
All I see is old, baby.
All I see is old.
All I see is old.
Where do we get those shirts? Are they online?
Got to come to class. You follow OG Wrestling Club, the Old Guy Gale Wrestling Club. We've got
All
our
right,
schedule
my
out.
last
We're all in New
class.
Jersey. We're spreading up to New York. Come to class, check it out. Wrestling is fun. I promise you that. Team Tylenol over here.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I'm
Great
gonna
class.
join Team Advil. And I'm gonna hit John up. We're gonna make it.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, man. They're good classes, a lot of fun. Get some scrapping in. Good times. So Dylan, last question for you. What would be your best outcome coming out of June 10th?
Yeah, well, a quick step back to the women's side of things. I'm so glad you brought that up, John. I had launched Grapple at the Garden back in 2012, and I remember year 2 or year 3 of that, Adeline Gray and Helen Willis wrestled in that event.
Nice.
So fast forward nearly 10 years, they're still going strong, the both of them. And Adeline, as you said, had given birth a few times here not too long ago. So I'm so happy for her that she's still at the top of her game. And really, when you think about women's wrestling, how much it's grown over these past 10 years, now you have Division I women's programs. And New Jersey was one of the first states to adopt high school girls for a full championship as a varsity sport. So a rising tide raises all ships. So the more the women's game grows, that only helps the men's side too. So excited for that. I see, obviously Jordan Burroughs, you guys have been talking about here. He came to Garden State Grapple back in November. Him and his son commented on it. That day I had my suit on, but with wrestling shoes. And Jordan says the first time he saw somebody in a nice suit, but also in wrestling shoes running around, getting the event ready to go. So look, what do I want to see? It's just New Jersey fans bringing that energy the way they know how. We talked about the last time I was on with you at the first Garden State Grapple when Rutgers was wrestling North Carolina. And Coach Coleman Scott made a lineup decision that the Rutgers fans were not too pleased with. Boy, they were not shy about their opinions. Okay, yeah. So I think that's what we're looking for. That lower bowl to be packed, everyone to be bringing the energy, screaming at the refs and supporting their wrestlers. Just bringing that New Jersey style. That for some people maybe it's a little bit too loud, but for us, we love it. We love that energy. And that's really, I think that's, if USA Wrestling and Beat the Streets see that from New Jerseyans, their love of the sport that they all love, if they see that, hey, these folks love this event, they love us, they support us, hey, let's come back. That's a win for us.
Yeah, well, awesome having everyone.
I'm sorry, John, I got to stop you real quick.
One more thing.
I just realized Corey Posey would be mad at me if we didn't give some respect to Greco. I felt like we went through all the lineups. So shout out to the Greco guys who are wrestling. We're going to have, Camille Bay is going to be back. I mean, he's a hammer thrower. But Colton Schultz and Adam Kuhn are going to be going out of heavyweight. I think that's another fiery matchup that I'm looking forward to. So let's not forget those Greco guys going at it as well. So they should get our respect.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Kuhn and Schultz is going to be fun. A lot of big action there. Well, hi, thanks for coming on, man. I think we're going to bring that Jersey Fire. Keep following the show, everybody. Instagram, follow us on Spotify, YouTube. Keep following the show. We'll keep bringing great things. I think we got a couple big guests coming up. Hopefully we'll announce that in the next day or two. CJ works some magic. So we'll catch you at Final X, guys, and build New Jersey wrestling. Let's go.
Thank you, Kevin.